In this video, we're going to be comparing the Steam Deck OLED to the Nintendo Switch OLED. So if you're in the market for a portable gaming device, hopefully this video will make that decision a little bit easier. So I just want to say that I'm recovering from a cold, so my voice might sound a little bit funny in this video. So the Nintendo Switch was released back in 2017 and then updated in 2021 to have an OLED screen. Here we've got the OLED variant of the Nintendo Switch, and if you want to learn more about this console, click up there, I made a video on it. On the other hand, the Steam Deck was released back in 2022. Then it was also updated at the end of 2023 to have an OLED screen. So I've been testing out the OLED version of the Steam Deck. And if you want to learn 10 reasons why you should buy a Steam Deck OLED, go and click on the link up in the corner of the video now. So we're going to start this video off by comparing the design of both the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch. And if you hold both devices in your hand, it's very apparent that the Nintendo Switch is a much smaller device in all dimensions. As you're probably already aware, the Nintendo Switch is a modular design. It has Joy-Cons that can slide off and then back on. And this OLED version of the console comes with a 7-inch OLED screen in the middle. This console also has a kickstand, so you can stand the console up on a flat surface. And because this console has a modular design, there are some compromises with the ergonomics. When you're holding the console in handheld mode, there's not much palm support. On the other hand, I've not found this to be an issue with the Steam Deck. So if you have a look at the design of the Steam Deck, there are some very nice palm grips that make the console much more comfortable to hold for long gaming sessions. Having a further look at the Steam Deck, as you can see, this is not a modular design. It is one solid console block. These joysticks on the side don't come off. This Steam Deck OLED also has a slightly larger 7.4-inch screen compared with the Nintendo Switch OLED, but it is worth noting that this isn't a 16:9 aspect ratio. As far as I'm aware, it's a 16:10 aspect ratio. There's actually a little bit more vertical screen real estate, but when it comes down to design and ergonomics, it really is personal choice. The Nintendo Switch is lighter, thinner and smaller, whereas the Steam Deck is larger and heavier, but some could argue it's more ergonomic because there's palm grips for your hands. But if I'm being completely honest, I've not found either of these consoles to be uncomfortable to hold. So this one is down to personal preference. So before we move on to the next comparison, if you are enjoying so far, be sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel. We're on the road to 3,000 subscribers, which is absolutely amazing. And don't forget to click the bell icon so you never miss an upload. And we're also going to try and aim for 20 likes on this video. Anyways, that was my shameless plug. Let's get on with the comparison. So we're next going to compare what is arguably one of the most important considerations when buying a console, and that is what are the different games available to you if you pick up either of these consoles. So I just want to say both of these consoles have very large game libraries, so you won't be disappointed if you go for either of them. So the Nintendo Switch has loads of first-party games such as Mario, Zelda, Animal Crossing. These are all games that are only available on the Nintendo Switch. Whereas the Steam Deck has the whole of Steam. So if you're a PC gamer and you've already got a pretty extensive Steam library, then you'll be able to play a lot of those games on the Steam Deck. So I think it's fair to say that the Steam Deck doesn't have as many well-produced first-party exclusives. So if you are looking to play games such as Mario Odyssey, Zelda, Mario Kart, then I would definitely go with the Nintendo Switch. But on the other hand, if you are looking to play more graphically intensive AAA games, then I'd probably lean towards the Steam Deck. There are going to be more AAA games available to play on the Steam Deck. AAA games such as The Witcher 3 and Hogwarts Legacy have been ported to the Nintendo Switch. But if you want my opinion as someone who owns both devices, even though you can play these games on the Nintendo Switch, you'll have a much better experience on the Steam Deck, simply because this is a much more powerful console. An example of that is Dark Souls Remastered. I'm able to play that on the Steam Deck at a solid 60 frames per second, whereas the Nintendo Switch version of the game only runs at 30 frames per second. Another example is The Witcher 3, which barely hits 30 frames per second on the Nintendo Switch, whereas on the Steam Deck I've managed to get The Witcher 3 to run at 45 frames per second at much higher graphical settings. So if you're looking to play these larger AAA games, definitely go to the Steam Deck. It will play the games much better than the Nintendo Switch. But if you mainly want to play Nintendo exclusives, then pretty much the only way to do that is with the Nintendo Switch. Now I do say pretty much the only way because you can actually emulate games on the Steam Deck. But as far as I'm aware, I don't think this device can emulate Nintendo Switch games. I think you could probably emulate up to about Wii games. But I might be wrong. I'm not an expert at emulation. Another thing you need to consider about the games between these two devices is multiplayer. So if you're someone that wants to play local multiplayer, the Nintendo Switch is much better. Lots of games on the Nintendo Switch have a local multiplayer feature. And the Nintendo Switch comes with two controllers because you can give someone a single Joy-Con and use it to play games such as Mario Kart. I was playing Super Mario Wonder and all you need is a single Joy-Con and you can give the other one to a friend and play local multiplayer, which is a really good feature. Whereas on the Steam Deck, there are very few games that allow you to play local multiplayer. Even games that on an Xbox would be split screen, such as Call of Duty. Unfortunately, the PC version of games such as Call of Duty are not split screen. So if you do want to play multiplayer, you'll have to do it online. So we're next going to compare the ease of use of both these devices. So I straight away want to say that the Nintendo Switch is a much easier device to use. Everything about this device is simple. All you have to do is put in a game cartridge or download a game off the internet, and then you can just play it. On the other hand, the Steam Deck is a slightly more complicated device to use. So the Steam Deck runs some software called SteamOS, which is actually pretty easy to use. So you end up downloading the games off of Steam. Where this console is a little bit more complicated than the Nintendo Switch is game optimization. So a lot of games, if you download them onto the Steam Deck, probably won't work perfectly straight away. What I found with a lot of games is I need to tinker with the settings to get them to work at the frame rates that I want. An example of this is The Witcher 3. So when I first booted into The Witcher 3 on this Steam Deck, the game ran horribly. It was about 15 frames per second. So it took me about 5-10 minutes of messing around with the settings and trialing different settings to see what worked. So obviously, like most PC games, you can change the graphics settings, which is also something you can do on the Steam Deck. But the Steam Deck also allows you to limit the frame rate and change the TDP if you want to save some battery life. There's just a whole lot of customization. This can be a good thing if you know what you're doing. But I do want to warn people that for a lot of games, it isn't just a case of downloading and playing. Most games do require you to mess around with the settings a little bit to get them to run perfectly. Whereas the Nintendo Switch is just a much easier experience. You can just put the game cartridge in and the game will work. So in terms of ease of use, the Nintendo Switch is the winner. So we're next going to compare the hardware between the Steam Deck and the Nintendo Switch. So obviously, in terms of hardware and raw performance, the Steam Deck is a much more powerful console. It's got a newer graphics processor chip, more RAM, more storage, and a bigger battery. Unfortunately, the hardware in the Nintendo Switch is from 2017. So in terms of graphics and processing, this is a much less powerful console. And that does show in games. A lot of AAA games will look much better on the Steam Deck than they do on the Nintendo Switch. I've actually found that the battery life between these two devices is fairly similar. So I found that the worst case scenario, if you're playing a very intensive game on the Steam Deck, I've seen the battery life go as low as 2.5–3 hours. But you'll easily get 4 or 5 hours if it's a less demanding game. I found that there's less variation with the battery life on the Nintendo Switch. This tends to get me about 4 or 5 hours of battery life. An area that varies tremendously is the storage. So the Nintendo Switch OLED only comes with 64GB of internal storage, whereas you can get the Steam Deck OLED with either 500GB or a terabyte. So when it comes to storage, the Steam Deck wins, but it is worth saying that you can expand the storage of both consoles with a micro SD card, and that games on the Nintendo Switch tend to be smaller than games on the Steam Deck. So before we go on any further, it is worth considering the price of both these consoles. So in the UK at the time of filming this video, you can get a Nintendo Switch OLED for around about £300. On the other hand, for a 500GB Steam Deck OLED, which is the one I have here, that'll set you back just under £500. So that is an important consideration, that the Steam Deck costs almost £200 more than the Nintendo Switch. But you can pick up non-OLED versions of both consoles for considerably less. But in my opinion, the OLED screen on both these consoles is worth it. And that moves us on swiftly to the screens. So both these consoles actually have very similar screens. They're both 7-inch OLED screens, but they're both 720p in resolution. I mean, the Steam Deck is 800p. They've both got very similar resolution screens. The colours on both these screens are amazing. They're both really, really bright, very colourful, very vibrant. The screens on both these devices do look significantly better than the non-OLED counterparts. But if we are comparing the screens, the screen on the Steam Deck OLED is actually slightly better, and that is because it can get slightly brighter. It supports HDR up to 1000 nits and SDR up to 600 nits, whereas I believe the Nintendo Switch OLED only supports up to 400 nits. So they both are very bright screens, but the Steam Deck has a brighter screen. It also supports high dynamic range in certain games. And one final big difference between the screens is that the Steam Deck OLED supports up to 90Hz refresh rate. So in games that run more than 60 frames per second on the Steam Deck, you'll be able to see a smoother image. So finally, we're going to compare the accessories that come in the box. So if you end up buying a Steam Deck, then it will come with the Steam Deck itself, and it'll also come with this very nice carrying case. This carrying case I've been very impressed with. It's pretty sturdy, and it's a very nice accessory for the Steam Deck to come with. It should do a very good job at protecting the Steam Deck if you go traveling with it. On the other hand, the Nintendo Switch does not come with a carrying case. You'll have to go out and buy one yourself. But the Nintendo Switch does come with a dock. So right out of the box, you're able to play the Nintendo Switch on your television. So there you go, that has been my comparison of the Steam Deck OLED and the Nintendo Switch OLED. So to conclude, I'd probably say that these are both very good consoles. If you're looking to play Nintendo exclusives in a smaller form factor, I'd probably go with the Switch. Also, this allows you to play on the TV quite easily, whereas if you're a PC gamer that's already got quite a large Steam library and you're not too fussed about playing Nintendo Switch exclusives and you'd rather play AAA titles, then I'd definitely go with Steam Deck. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video and it's been helpful. If you have enjoyed, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing. If you want some more videos of the Nintendo Switch and the Steam Deck, go and have a look at my channel. I've made other videos on both these consoles. So yeah, anyway, I will catch everyone in my next video. Hopefully in my next video I don't sound so ill. I'll catch you all in my next one.